Welcome back to CIA Declassified. We're in the era of the total information awareness dream. The setting is the post-September 11th world, where the intelligence community is drowning in a literal sea of data. By the early 2010s, the agency wasn't just collecting needles and haystacks, they were collecting the entire haystack, every single second of every single day. But there was a problem. How do you look at a billion records at once? How do you see the communication pulse of an entire continent on a single screen? Imagine standing in a room where the walls are made of light and every flicker represents a secret shared, a distance traveled, or a connection forged. You aren't looking at people. You are looking at the digital shadows they cast across the planet. In this silent, electrified space, the boundary between private life and national security dissolves into a series of glowing amber clusters. This isn't just a database. It is a God view of human behavior. If you knew that every time you picked up your phone, a pixel changed color on a screen 3,000 miles away, would you speak differently? Would you even speak at all? Today we go inside the machine that turned your daily life into the ultimate intelligence asset. Visualize a dark room in the National Threat Operations Center. On the wall is a glowing map of the world. It isn't a map of borders or terrain. It is a map of interception intensity. Countries like Pakistan, Jordan, and even the United States are colored in shades of amber and deep red. Each pixel represents millions of pieces of metadata. The who, when, and where of human interaction. This was the big data epiphany. The content of your call doesn't matter nearly as much as the fact that you made it, who you called, and where you were standing when you pressed dial. The tool was designed to answer a single, devastatingly simple question: what is our coverage of country X right now? In near real time, the system would query the massive signal intelligence infrastructure, pulling from archives like GM Place. It was the algorithm of omniscience, a way to verify that the vacuum cleaner of global intelligence was working at peak capacity. It was the moment that privacy stopped being a right and started being a data point in a global ledger. This required a complete shift in operational philosophy. The agency moved away from targeted wiretapping and into bulk collection visuals. They realized that if you map the communication heartbeat of a nation long enough, you can see the anomalies before they happen. You can see a city getting quiet before a riot, or a spike in encrypted traffic before a strike. Boundless Informant was the lens that made the invisible world of signals finally, terrifyingly visible. Why the name Boundless Informant? Well, the agency officially maintains it is a functional designation for a tool with boundless query capabilities. The internal culture suggested a more literal interpretation. It refers to the self-quantifying citizen. In the digital age, every individual has become an informant against themselves, providing a boundless stream of data through their devices without the need for a traditional human source. The logo itself featured a stylized earth being enveloped by a golden net, a visual representation of the agency's mission to collect it all. We are pulling back the graphic user interface on a project that mapped the world in red. Boundless Informant was a data summarization tool used by the NSA to track global metadata collection. The tool utilized a heat map interface to show the volume of data intercepted from every country on Earth. Records show that in March 2013, the system logged over 97 billion pieces of intelligence worldwide. The system pulled data from over 500 separate collection sources known as SIG ads. Documentation confirms that the system tracked both DNI internet and DNR telephony metadata. The tool functioned as a managerial dashboard to verify that collection systems like PRISM were working correctly. Records show that the system recorded nearly 3 billion pieces of data from inside the United States in a single month. The tool allowed users to drill down into specific countries to see which programs were providing the most data. Documentation reveals the system used an open source software stack, including Hadoop, Hadoop, to process the massive datasets. The tool provided a top 5 list of most monitored countries, which often included allies like Germany. Records verified that the system was housed within the Global Access Operations Division. The tool used proprietary algorithms to count records stored in the MapReduce framework. BOUNDLESS INFORMANT identified that more metadata was being collected on Americans than on many foreign adversaries. The system ignored the content of communications to focus purely on the pattern of life metadata. Records confirmed that the tool was used to justify budget allocations for new collection sites based on coverage gaps. Documentation shows the system could generate near real-time reports on the success rate of clandestine fiber taps. The tool categorized data by source type, distinguishing between satellite intercepts and undersea cable taps. Records verify the system used color coding, green to red, to represent record volume, not the target priority. The system integrated data from the X-Keyscore system for deeper analysis. And also, just so you know, if you're listening and you're interested in some of the things I'm mentioning, I do have an episode on Prism, and I also have an episode, I think, on X-Keyscore. All right, moving on. And then some others like Bull Run. If you're into tech stuff, start searching. There's quite a few. All right, documentation reveals the existence of a frequently asked questions for the tool that explicitly stated it could not be used for legal compliance checks. The tool allowed analysts to see temporal trends, such as the spike in data during a foreign election. Records show the system was accessible to Five Eyes intelligence partners under specific sharing agreements. The tool mapped geospatial anomalies where new unregistered cell towers appeared in conflict zones. Documentation confirms the system could track metadata velocity, measuring how fast new data was being ingested. The system monitored roaming patterns of international travelers through their mobile identifiers. Records show the tool was instrumental in mapping the social graph of suspected extremist networks. The tool utilized cloud computing nodes to aggregate data from remote listening posts in Africa. Documentation confirms that Level 1 analysts could access the global heat map without specific target selection warrants. The system identified dark zones where encryption was successfully blocking metadata collection. Records verify the tool was used to monitor the operational health of the global surveillance grid. The tool generated executive summaries for the Director of National Intelligence. Documentation reveals that the system's existence was a top secret stellar wind level secret until its disclosure. The system logged over 14 billion reports from Iran in a 30-day window. Records show that Jordan provided nearly 13 billion records, making it a primary collection hub. The tool used asynchronous database queries to prevent the system from crashing under the weight of billions of rows. Documentation confirms that the tool provided the first unified inventory of the NSA's massive digital holdings. The system tracked the success of man-in-the-middle attacks on global backbone routers. Records verify that the tool helped identify metadata leaks in the agency's own collection systems. The system monitored the stability of the Bull Run decryption program data intake. Documentation reveals that the tool was utilized by the FISA court to understand the scope of upstream collection. The tool distinguished between dialed digits and post-dialed digits in telephony metadata. Records show the system used heuristic scoring to determine the reliability of various data sources. The tool identified that India was one of the most heavily monitored non-conflict nations. Documentation confirms the system used map layer toggling to show different types of intelligence, e.g. signals intelligence versus human. The system logged over 6 billion pieces of metadata from Germany in a single month. Records verify the tool could track the latency of data arriving from remote collection platforms. The tool helped map the physical routes of global internet traffic to identify bottlenecks for tapping. Documentation shows the system used user profile shadowing to predict who a target would communicate with next. The system monitored the packet drop rate of illegal taps on foreign undersea cables. Records show that the system could visualize the density of VPN usage in a specific region. The tool allowed for the comparison of collection trends year over year to identify shifting global interest. Documentation confirms the tool was used to verify the exfiltration efficiency of the TAO hacking unit, TAO, sorry, I'm not familiar with you. The system logged billions of SMS records, tracking the social connectivity of entire populations. The system tracked the metadata co-location of multiple SIM cards to identify burner phone usage. Records show the tool utilized Java-based servlets to deliver the interface to agency workstations worldwide. The tool recorded the IMEI numbers of devices, linking physical hardware to digital accounts. Documentation confirms the system was used to monitor the effectiveness of the Fairview corporate partnership. The system identified target handoffs when a person moved between different cellular providers. Records verify that Boundless Informant used Apache Accumulo for high-performance cell-level security of the data. The tool monitored Wi-Fi access point logs to track the indoor movement of high-value targets. Documentation reveals the system could filter data based on the class of service, e.g. VoIPs versus traditional landline. The system logged the duration of session for internet connections to build connectivity profiles. Records show the tool was used to identify encrypted tunnels that were being used by foreign intelligence services. The tool integrated social media identifiers like Twitter handles into the metadata graph. Documentation confirms the system used Zookeeper for managing the configuration of the distributed processing clusters. The system monitored the record growth rate to anticipate when more storage hardware was needed at the Utah Data Center. Records verify the tool could distinguish between human-generated and machine-to-machine M2M communications. The tool mapped the top talkers in any given geographic region to identify local influencers. Documentation shows the system utilized geo-IP databases to map IP addresses to physical city blocks. The system monitored the handover logs of maritime satellite communications. Records show the tool could track the battery status and signal strength reported by some mobile devices. The tool identified temporal patterns of life, such as the exact time a target wakes up, goes to the bathroom, and even checks their mail. Documentation confirms the system used automated alerting when data collection in a specific region dropped below a baseline. The system recorded the language settings of intercepted web browsers to help identify the nationality of users. Now on to the quotes. This is a declassified quote from a agency technical directorate, but it doesn't say who. Metadata is like a fingerprint of a person's life. If you have enough of it, you don't need the content. A quote from Edward Snowden from an open letter to the people of Brazil. These programs were never about terrorism. They're about economic spying, social control, and diplomatic manipulation. They're about power. And a quote from James Bamford in The Shadow Factory. There is now the capacity to make tyranny total in America. Only law ensures that we never fall into that abyss. A quote from a declassified internal briefing slide. Boundless Informant allows us to see the world not as a collection of nations, but as a collection of networks. A quote from a declassified internal NSA presentation on big data. By counting the records, we are measuring the very heartbeat of global communication. A quote from a declassified internal memo from the Global Access Operations Division. The visual heat map is more than a tool. It is the ultimate scoreboard for global dominance. And a quote that is attributed to a senior NSA architect, but again, it doesn't provide the name. We are tracking the atoms of human interaction, and in the aggregate, those atoms form the most accurate map of reality ever created, end quote. The declassified slides for Boundless Informant are famous for their vibrant colors, but the most important parts are buried under digital black ink. There is one specific section concerning direct fiber access partnerships that consist of approximately 12 to 15 pages of total redaction, just block after block of black ink. What's hidden in the black? I suspect those redactions cover corporate partner identification, the specific names of internet service providers and telecom giants that have direct backdoor links into the agency's servers. I also believe the redactions hide domestic interconnect points, the physical locations on U.S. soil where fiber optic cables are split. Most controversially, I suspect the blacked out text details exploitation success rates for specific encryption protocols, revealing exactly which secure apps are actually transparent to the map of everything. For instance, some people think WhatsApp is super secure. It's not. It hasn't ever actually been, contrary to common misconception. When you build a map of the world, people start wondering what else you're mapping. Here's some other theories. The predictive behavioral loop. Some speculate that Boundless Informant wasn't just a map, but a simulator. The theory suggests the agency used the metadata to build digital twins of every citizen, running what-if scenarios to predict social unrest or political shifts years in advance. The financial pulse speculation. This posits that the system was secretly used to map global financial transactions in real time, allowing the United States to perform economic sabotage or front-run the markets by seeing the communication flow of high-frequency traders. Then there's the global blackmail database theory. This is one of the darker ones. It suggests that the heat map was used to identify high-value targets with sensitive patterns, such as visits to specific clinics or contact with political dissidents, to be used for coerced cooperation or character assassination on a global scale. And then there's the biological interface speculation. Some conspiracy enthusiasts suggest the heat map was actually tracking more than just electronics. They speculate the system was integrated with biosensors or micro-resonance patterns to track the physical health and emotional state of large populations, allowing the agency to monitor the collective anxiety of a nation during a crisis. Was Boundless Informant a success? Tactically, it was an information triumph. It solved the big data bottleneck. For the first time, intelligence managers could see at a glance where their resources were going and where they were failing. It turned surveillance management into a video game interface, allowing for the rapid retesting of satellites and listening posts. It provided the ground truth of the agency's reach, ensuring that no data stream was being wasted. The tactical win was the democratization of data within the agency. Even low-level analysts could now see the global picture, which allowed for faster cross-program collaboration and a more agile intelligence posture. Strategically, it was a diplomatic disaster. While it worked perfectly as a tool, its disclosure shattered the trust architecture between the U.S. and its allies. By providing that the agency was collecting billions of records on partner nations, it forced global privacy reckoning. It led to the localization of data laws, where countries began requiring data to be stored on their own soil, making global surveillance harder. It was a victory, but the agency was able to map the world, but in doing so, they showed the world exactly why it needed to hide. It also marked the end of the post-9/11 consensus on surveillance, triggering a wave of legislative pushback that eventually led to the USA Freedom Act and the formal curtailing of bulk metadata collection on American citizens. As far as operational and technological breakthroughs go, quite a few. Geospatial metadata visualization. The ability to turn abstract log files into a real-time visual heat map was a massive keep. During the project, this allowed the agency to see the digital footprint of a city in real time. Today, this technology is the foundation of smart city management. Urban planners use aggregated location data from mobile apps to map traffic flow and public transit efficiency. In the private sector, companies use retail heat mapping to see how customers move through a store, optimizing layouts based on the digital presence of the shoppers' phones. Distributed big data processing. This was one of the first massive scale deployments of distributed computing for intelligence. It proved that you could process petabytes of data by breaking it into small pieces across thousands of servers. Today, this is the engine of the internet. Every time you perform a Google search or look at a Netflix recommendation, you are using the same massively parallel processing techniques pioneered by the agency to map the world. It has moved from spy tech to the industrial standard for all modern data science. Pattern of life analytics. The project mastered the art of behavioral profiling without needing to know the content of a message. By looking only at the metadata symmetry, who talks to who and when, the agency could identify the command and control nodes of a cell. Today, this is used in cybersecurity to detect insider threats or botnets. Banks use it for fraud detection, identifying anomalous spending patterns that don't match a user's financial fingerprint long before a stolen card is even reported. And real-time intelligence dashboards. The shift from static reporting to dynamic dashboards allowed for instant situational awareness. Today, this is the global standard for crisis management. During natural disasters, emergency responders use real-time data feeds from social media and cell towers to map evacuation zones and damage areas. The logistics industry uses these dashboards to track global supply chains, allowing companies to see exactly where every shipping container is on a map, much like the agency saw every data packet. The legacy of Boundless Informant is the normalization of the metadata gaze. We have moved from the targeted investigation to the permanent background scan. The world is no longer a place of private actions, it's a network of traces. The map of everything taught us that your identity is not what you say, but the geometry of your connections. We live in an age where the heat map is everywhere. The metadata streams of the early 2010s have become the data leaks of today. Every tap of a screen, every swipe of a card, and every ping of a cell tower is a billion record day in the making. The communication heartbeat is being recorded and analyzed by an algorithm of omniscience that never sleeps. Never assume that metadata is anonymous. With enough data points, a pattern is as unique as a name. Remember that your digital shadow is often larger than your physical presence. You are being mapped even when you are standing still. In the age of big data, privacy is a statistical anomaly. The goal of the system is to make everyone predictable. And remember, the map is not just information, it is the skeleton of a world that has decided that secrets are a security risk. Thanks for listening, and join us next time as we examine Project Starfish Prime, a 1.4 megaton nuclear blast in space designed to see how the high-altitude EMP would silence the electronics of Soviet satellites. We'll look at the artificial auroras, the radiation belts, and the intelligence monitoring that turned the night sky into a nuclear laboratory. Join us next time for The Star That Shattered. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.